All right, we're live. Welcome, gentlemen. Long time no. Well, I've spoken to you guys kind of offline and online, but we haven't got together like this, and it's a long overdue. So thanks for taking time out of your super busy schedules to join me for Let's Talk Bro. And as we discussed at the end of the last one we did, I wanted to talk a bit more about things that we wish we knew sooner. So we'll get into that. But first of all, how are we?
Shall I start?
Good.
Shall I start?
Go, Andy, go. Get in there. Kill the silence.
I'm feeling really good. It was a really, really busy week last week in Birmingham, obviously for the Rec Expo. And then I came back into the office on Friday to find out we had to move. So I was planning on following up with like all the people that I met. And then I realised that I had to pack up the office, and me, Bella and Simon moved the office. But I've got everyone upstairs, the whole team HQ, apart from apart from Kim, are here because she's in South Africa. So, but yeah, I'm good. How's everyone else today?
Nitin, how you doing, buddy?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good, yeah. Rec Expo last week. One of the biggest curry clubs we ever put on. That was last week. That was good. Work's good. Family good. Everything good, man.
Good to hear it. Good to hear it. Bobby, what's happening, buddy?
Man, it sounds like I'm going to be a bit more of a downer then in that case. Both, good and challenging all at the same time. Been doing lots of work. So I missed the expo that everyone else went to. I know I ended up in Amsterdam working with a client. So that was a lot of fun. Kind of lots of stuff happening, and in all honesty, just trying to make my way through it all. And I think funny enough, it kind of leads on to where we're going to talk about what I'd wish I'd known sooner. But how about you, Sunjay? What's been going on with you?
Yeah, I've been super, super busy. Like you, I didn't make the expo. I had booked my ticket and with all intentions wanted to go there and just didn't make it, but super busy with work. Home life has just been crazy since we've spoken last. I think I've moved house or I was in the process of moving house and everything that comes with that. Been traveling for work a lot. So it's good. I'm also kind of getting into that stage of the year where, it's getting darker outside. It's not light in the morning when I wake up. And I know that impacts me personally. And I know I'm not alone in that I'm starting to feel it. So I'm just making sure that I'm taking some extra steps to try and manage those feelings, those emotions. I actually went to this really cool wellness retreat at the end of August. God, it feels like a long time ago now. And it was on my own, no kids, no family, just me and obviously a group of people that went there. And it was really, really breaking in the sense of just trying to understand a bit more about me as a person, as a man, my role in life, and all of these kind of high level questions, and I came kind of bouncing off the back of that, and I'm just trying to ride the wave of that high, and during that time, a lot of it obviously was physical, but also mental health as well, and this question about what did I wish I knew at the before was resonating on my mind, which is why I wanted to talk about it today. So yeah, thanks for asking. And I think there's a lot's happened. The summer's gone. Everyone's ridden that wave. We've had that back to school for those that are parents, which kind of that brings its own stress levels. Andy, I saw your post about back to university, which is something I'll look forward to in the future. All of these things that have happened, and then we're kind of in the midst of it now, aren't we? Kind of that period between summer's finished, Christmas is approaching fast, and just there's shitload of stuff happening work-wise, events-wise, which I know we're all involved in. So it can be, it's an easy time to get lost and just get our heads down and kind of not stop and pause and just think about what's really important. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you guys for joining me. I'm grateful to have this community as well, because I think it's well needed. I've had some really positive messages of support for this live that we're doing. I don't know if you guys caught one. I did another one with a guy called Harj Ghali a few weeks ago. Actually, he was someone that's suffered with addiction, and gambling addiction is his main one, and he talked very openly and candidly about his thoughts. So I'm just enjoying this part of my part of my life, which is not really work for me, but it's just something that's really important to me. And I want to, I know it's important to all of you guys, which is kind of why I brought this group of people together. Let's start then, because, well, actually, let me throw it out to you. Kind of, what do you feel the same as me this time of year? Is it just me? I like to just kind of let's cover that ground. Is anyone kind of feeling similar, or do you have a different perspective on this time of year?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of agree. It gets a bit. I'm literally in front of my front window in my house. It's gonna get really, really dark very, very soon. People do suffer from is it SAD, seasonal affectiveness
SAD,
disorder?
yeah.
I don't think it's just a you thing. I think it's a thing that we all do, and I think that kind of brings me on to the first thing I wish I'd known like years ago. That I'm not the only person going through something like this. So if in doubt, I kind of realized that in various different points in my life, there's just there's so many people that, for good and bad reasons, are going through something similar, and sometimes it's just being curious and asking the question and understanding what people are going through that then can breed much better conversations. And I think I went to a wedding this weekend and I spoke to some uni mates that I hadn't spoken to in about 10 years, but in some cases nothing had shifted apart from the conversations that we had. It wasn't just, are we going to get drunk? It's now actually, how do you feel about things? How do you, what's going on with you really? And it just opened up so many more conversations. Sure, alcohol played a part, but it was just really nice to have those more meaningful connective conversations. So yeah, there's loads of stuff that we could probably go on about for that. But yeah, you're not alone, mate, if you're feeling like that. I think there's lots of people on this call and the wider network that are all feeling something similar in some way.
Yeah, it doesn't help like all those posts that have hit LinkedIn of the last quarter, like what have you done with your year and what are you doing now? Like how are you going to win the next? It's 12 weeks, isn't it, today or something like that to Christmas? So like what are you going to do in the next 12 weeks? Like it is pretty. Like it does raise a lot of anxiety in people.
It's toxic positivity, isn't it? It's people. I think there's got to be an element of pragmatic positivity rather than right. How are you going to smash it? I think we all know that just talking in that particular language doesn't help in some cases, but it obviously spurs some people on, and that's cool for them. But I think you always find your tribe, and I think it's probably the right positioning of the right questions that make a lot more sense, right?
Yeah. I think doing things that make you sort of question yourself and make you like reflect is really important as well, Sunjay. Like that wellness retreat sounds amazing. Like I've never done anything like that. I'd love to do. I'd love to do something similar. It's it's
it was the first time I'd ever done anything like that, and it was just a lot of introspection and a lot of time with your own thoughts, which was it, I can't remember, there was a quote, someone said two things people find scary, and the second one was being alone with your own thoughts. I can't remember what the first one was. And that it's true, isn't it? Sometimes and that's why we have this world where we can magically distract ourselves from our own thoughts. And when have we ever alone with our own thoughts? You're in the car, you're listening to music or a podcast. You're in the gym, you're doing the same thing. You're at work, and you've got 1,000,001 distractions around you, and very rarely do we sit there and actually think about what's actually in our own heads and reflect on it. Right? It's okay. It's okay to have the thoughts that we have, no matter if they're positive, negative, neutral, indifferent. But I think this idea
that's the point, though, isn't it? There's not. That message doesn't get put out there, like you say, with the what are you going to do to finish this year off with a bang and that kind of thing. It's like who the fuck decided that life's a competition? Who decided that I need to finish this year off with a bang? Like why do I who am I being held accountable to, or why am I comparing myself with other people? Like my biggest learn this last year has been that it's not a race. I like analogies, as most people know.
You're going to get the motorway analogy out, aren't you?
It works. It works really well. And funnily enough, I've said it twice today to two different people on calls, because again, it seems to be a trend for people where they're like, I'm failing or I'm losing, and it's like, why is it a race? Do you remember like being little in the car and your dad's driving or your mum's driving, and you're on the motorway and you're like, just take over that one now. Oh yeah, we're going to win. Like nobody wins on a motorway. Everybody's in their lane. Everybody's got their own destination. Some are going to stop. Some aren't going to stop. Some might need to go fast and go around somebody. But, I'm coming off at a different place. So you're coming off, and you're coming off a different place to what she's coming off. Why is it a race? And so I hate that kind of like, what are you going to do to finish this year off with a bang? Like, first of all, switch you off, because that's a load of bollocks. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's the only competition you ever really need to be is with what you've kind of set out for yourself. And
or who you were yesterday, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be like we put so much emphasis on succeeding in business and that kind of thing. It's like, do you know what? Like, the work we do is just something that we do in between the hours of, the stuff that we like to do. It allows us or affords us the luxuries of being able to spend time with loved ones, or, go and treat ourselves with things and that kind of thing. Why do we put so much importance on it? Like, you want to finish this year off with a bang. Well, okay, what else are you doing? Like, what else is important to you? What's your why? If you forgot that, maybe refocus on that.
I think that's a kind of a symptom of the world we live in. And you mentioned LinkedIn, the messages on LinkedIn, Andy, and I think, we're all guilty of this. We always use LinkedIn for networking, business development, for promoting something that's going to ultimately bring us income in some way, shape or form. And I think there's a lot of competition, or it feels like there's a lot of people on there trying to promote something. And it's like, if you're not smashing it towards your annual targets, then you need help, and I could help you, and I might have a product or service or something that can help you. And I think I think a lot of people get caught up in that, but I 100% agree. And I love that motorway analogy. It's so true, isn't it? It's not a race, and everyone's at their own pace, and just knowing where you are on that journey. And if you're, and look, and even if you're not, you know that you're in your own race, and you're running your own race, and you're not where you need to be right now. That's okay too, right?
Yeah.
And I think, to go on, I'm going to crack on to, that leads me nicely to, what did I wish I knew earlier? Is it okay not to be okay? That's the one. When someone said that to me, it was a few years ago now, it really literally blew my mind. I was like, yeah, it's okay not to be okay. Because we do live in a world where you feel like you have to be okay all of the time, right? And look, many of us, especially from the Asian culture, we grew up in this culture that, men are men, we don't cry, we just have to put on a brave face and get on with it. I'm sure it's not just our culture, I'm sure that's across the board. And we were never allowed to show that we're not okay, right? We had to be the warrior, the man of the house. You are the person who goes out there. And I think that's the first thing I want to say. That's the thing I wish, if I'd known that, in my 20s, in my 30s, when shit hit the fan big time for me, in my late 20s, it was kind of going into my 30s, that would have really just helped me to stop and maybe do things differently. I don't know.
I mean, the irony is, Sunjay, that I agree with absolutely everything that you say. And the worst part is my dad was a psychiatrist. So he'd treat people with the end product of not allowing yourself to feel okay. And it's amazing just what the mind can do if you have repressed or suppressed quite a lot of things. And, he'd easily talk around someone who'd, kind of had a lot of trauma, but only just uncovered it because it kind of, it led to dementia. They literally went had a shower, and then by the end of the shower, they'd lost a lot of their, I think it was their short-term memory that they'd gotten rid of. And it's amazing how our body shuts down if we don't recognize that we're not okay. I mean, I'm really happy to talk about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I literally couldn't get out of bed because I was burnt out, depressed, whatever it is, and I physically couldn't get myself out of bed, and it took a monumental effort to do so. And that's okay, but it just made me recognize, I think I said it to Nitin straight away, that I pretty much need to go on holiday, and I can't wait to go on holiday next week, because you just have, people have these fits, starts and waves, and it's okay. But yeah,
it's the amount of pressure we put on ourselves.
Yeah, like and that, me, I put a load of pressure on myself to deliver as much as I can, but
Bobby, you're no different to any of us on this call, right? You've got 1,000 problems every day until you've got a problem with your health. Then you got one problem.
Yeah, exactly that.
Then all the other stuff ain't important no more. If you can't keep yourself in check, mate, you can 1,000 problems, 10 problems, 1,000,000 problems, doesn't matter. You got one problem now, And like we lose sight of that a lot of the times. I think there's
I totally agree.
And on that as well, though, Bobby, especially with you, because I remember we had this conversation, right? And we're sort of like, just, like you just got to try and snap out of it. Like, you've overcome so much, yet, you're letting this get on top of you. And I get it, but come on, like we need to snap out of this. My thing that I wish I'd known sooner was like, no one's coming to save you. Nobody's coming to save you. You got to do it yourself. Like you and only you can get yourself in and out of situations. You know what I mean? Like there is no magic fix. There is no one thing that you can do, or someone that's going to come in and wipe your ass for you and get you gone. You got to do it yourself. Like, nobody's coming to save you.
Couldn't
as
agree
harsh
more.
as that sounds.
Yeah, I mean that's it. And funny enough, following on from that, one of the biggest things I wish I'd have learned sooner is that concept of radiators and drains. If anyone's come across the concept before, so people who radiate energy versus people who drain energy, and sometimes some of those people who drain your energy can be some of your closest people.
Yeah.
And at certain points, and it's sometimes allowing yourself the opportunity to look at who in my life do I gain energy, gain love, respect, and all of those good things from, and who in my life. And again, she's probably not on this call, but I know that my relationship with people like my mother's changed because I know that, like you say, almost like that you come to them with a problem, they ain't going to help you. So what is the point of being around those types of people?
100%.
What do you tend to do, Bobby, with folks that drain your energy? Do you try and cut them out of your life now? Not necessarily your mum, by the way.
No. You almost have to limit it. No, well, I think that's a whole other conversation. But certainly you almost try and look at it and go, what joy, what purpose do I get from these interactions? And it's allowed me to spend a lot more time. And look, I'll be honest, I'm a guy, I'm not the best at like texting all my mates all the time. In fact, my wife is very much the organizer of our relationship. But it's just being able to go, actually, who do I enjoy spending my time with? How do I replicate those things more, rather than just going, hey, I've got to go do the same old things with the same old people, and I don't necessarily enjoy it.
That's the key point as well, though, isn't it? Just like do what you enjoy, like do what makes you happy.
Yeah,
like, regardless of what you believe, like you got one spin around this earth, right? Just do the things that make you happy. Don't leave it till till it's too late. We had a death in the family recently, and this is a guy who worked hard his entire life. Literally was retired 2 weeks before, and had all these plans. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go here. I'm going to book this. I'm going to book that. Died on a motorbike. Just died. And that was just riding. Had a heart attack. Done. By the time he hit the ground, he was gone. You put off so much for what? I'll do it one day. Like, just do what makes you happy. Do it now. Do it today.
Yes, because we're not allowed to have fun, Nitin, when you're an adult. It's not allowed. It's not in the rules, It's like you get, I've used this analogy before. Like you think about like school. I've got a 3-year-old, right? When he started nursery, and even to a degree, now, what are they doing? And you walk into a nursery in the middle of the day. What's going on apart from the naps, right? They're going wild. They're running around like crazy. They're having fun, right? They are having a bunch. They're having a laugh. What happens when they get to school? Sit down, be quiet, look forward, listen, right? And that happens for like, what, 10 more years, 12 more years in your life. You go to university, you get a bit of freedom, but it's still the same thing. You're not allowed to have fun. And then you go to work, and people that work in an office job, I worked in recruitment, as many of us, have affiliations to that industry. You're sitting at your desk, you're calling away, you're grinding away. Where's the fun gone in life, right? And I think you're absolutely right. Do what you enjoy, and that's kind of the epiphany I had when I left recruitment. For me, it was like, I'm going to go and do something that I enjoy, and it was, didn't earn me nowhere near as much money, but I realized that it wasn't about that at that point in my life, and I went and had fun. And I'll tell you what, it was the best thing I've ever done. And I lost a lot as a result of doing that, but I wouldn't change it for the world, because I now can hopefully, I can't tell my children what to do or even make them do things, and I don't want to be that father, but I can guide them to saying, have fun, enjoy yourself, no matter what it is that you're doing. And I think you're absolutely right.
My elder said that to me the other day. She was like, she goes, no, mommy works hard, daddy, you just have fun all the time. And I was like, what do you mean by that? And she's like, because I see all the pictures and the stuff on your Instagram and on YouTube and blah, blah, blah. You're just having fun all the time. That's not work. And I was like, all right, yeah, fair enough. And she's like, I'm going to be like you when I'm older. I'm right, there you go. Lead by example, not by But
they do as you do, not as you say.
That's it.
I mean, I remember putting the idea of doing one thing that brings you joy every day into the conversation last time. Yeah. So I'm going to put it into you. I'm going to follow up with you guys. What things are you doing that bring you joy?
Do you know what, Bobby? That was going to be one of the things that I spoke about. Of what?
Go on.
What do I know now that I wish I'd known like back then? That's that. Like having at least an hour a day doing something that's just for you. So last month, I've traveled like the length and breadth of the country. And I think I might have said this on the last session we did. I do F45 training at 5:30 or 6:30 in the morning. And I've only managed to go 8 times in the last 5 weeks because I've been all over the place. And it's really, really messed with my routine. And I've struggled with it. And I've gone back so I went this morning, went back on Friday, went back as well. And that's my 1 hour of like joy for me, where I can just, all the stress, all the tensions I've got, I just go and smash it out on a rowing machine or kettlebells. Like that 1 hour, that's my thing, for me. And I'm so excited now because I've just bought myself like the newest incarnation of the Nike Metcon 10, Nitin, you know about these. And they've just arrived at my house an hour ago. So I'm like, tomorrow morning, I'm supposed to be going to Yorkshire for a team meeting. I'm already thinking about getting to F45 tomorrow at 6:30 in the morning to do the weights class with my new Metcon. I'm so excited about it. That's that one thing. Like, I wish I could go back 10 years or 15 years or 20 years when I got into recruitment and say, Andy, just every day block in your 1 hour, like your one thing. It might be reading a book. It might be cooking something new or doing something like F45, but just do it every single day. And it would completely change you. I wish someone had said that to me when I got back into recruitment back in 2002, whenever it was. So
the thing is though, back then there was no one to tell you that. I think a lot of people kind of discount the fact that actually part of the reason that our generation, so Gen X and millennials, are in the way we are shaped the way we are mentally, and kind of we have the worldviews that we do, is because the generation that came before us all but pulled the ladder up after them. They stayed in senior management positions way longer than they should have done. They didn't present us anywhere near the opportunities that they were presented in front of them, and we did all the things that they asked us to do, and we were still wrong, and we were still miserable. And now there's this awakening where everyone's sort of just like, this is bollocks, I'm not doing that anymore. And then now we're branded as not motivated, lazy, soft, woke, and all the other terminology that gets thrown around. All because we've gone, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't want to be on the hamster wheel. And guess what? I'm not a hamster. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't think enough of that, because the truth is, Andy, no one was ever going to tell you that. In fact, what they would have done is gone, where are you going? What do you mean you're having a lunch break? What time do you call this part-timer when you come in and work on time?
Yeah, can't do that during core hours.
No, exactly. Yeah, your core hours. That's another one. Yeah, it's just weird, toxic behavior, which people like myself, people like Bobby, and even you to an extent, Andy, is we're having to now kind of unpick and sort of almost rewire people's mindsets, because they're like, well, no, just need to get back on the phone. So you're like, well, do you answer the phone? No. Would you answer the phone to an unknown number? No. And when you're at work, do you answer the phone? No. So why the fuck would your candidates do it? Like, do you know what I mean? And we're having to now unwind people's brains and be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of that. No, of course you didn't.
But it also transfers into a level of empathy, which is probably one of the things I'd say, if I could impart anything onto anyone that I hadn't done before, is a level of empathy, and getting people to realize, using that scenario of, people, obviously, Andy, you've got a daughter of a, kind of like that late teens, early 20s age. How many phone calls has she made in her life. Actual, do you know what I mean? Like the only phone calls that she would ever have received or made were probably to you.
Well, she has got that. So I ring my mum every day. I think I might mention that in the last one, but she's followed that up. So at uni, she does call me every day now, and we have a little catch up. But I agree with you. She probably no one else.
Exactly, and yet we're telling these people who have no real. And I know it's a rudimentary thing like making a phone call. It is to us, but for them, it's a whole social barrier because they've never had to do as much of that anywhere near.
Me telling you, Bobby, write me a letter.
Yeah, exactly. I can't remember the last time I wrote a letter. I mean, I wrote a lovely inscription in that wedding card for the weekend, but that's about 3 lines. Like, tell me to write a 2,500 word essay, handwritten. I won't do it because I don't need to.
Yeah, it's so true, isn't it? That what Nitin said there about undoing a lot of those kind of societal or workplace practices that just seemed so normal and so kind of, well, yeah, of course that's true. That should be the way. So, Andy, I want to ask you actually, because you mentioned team and exercise and working out. It's definitely something that I know that I enjoy doing. Did you start doing that because you enjoyed it or because you just thought that you had to, right? Because this is something that I battled as I used to work in the fitness industry. And a lot of people get into fitness and exercise because they feel like they have to and they don't enjoy it, and they can learn to grow to enjoy it. What was your entry to that?
My entry to doing this kind of training, I've always done like something, from playing tennis or running or things like the entry to me getting fit was when I was having a bad time in a big recruitment agency. So this was back in 2013. I used to use my 5K at lunchtime. So I did used to go out for a run, Nitin and Bobby, but I used to use that to get away from my desk. It was the one time of the day where I didn't have
literally run 5Ks
literally run away, from the desk, because that was the one time of the day that I wasn't stuck on a device. I wasn't on a laptop or a computer, or I wasn't on my phone. I did really get into it, and I've probably run, I don't know what I've run, 3,000 kilometers or something like that on my app. Got into that, but F45 was different. A friend of mine bought a franchise brand and asked me to be like an ambassador for it. So I got it, at the start, got to go, and he said, like, I need to post about it on social media and stuff like that, but can you keep coming? And it very quickly, I lost weight quite quick, but it very quickly became that one thing of the day that I used to just love being in a different environment and pushing myself in a different space. So I didn't really think about it too much. And I never thought in a million years I'm at 1,200 classes now. I never thought in a million years I'd get anywhere near that, And we've got a little group of buddies that train at the same time in the morning. And one of them today hit his 1,000 classes. So he's the last one out of the 6 of us to get to 1,000. You get a special towel, which is quite, but never thought about it, about, do I need to do it or do I want to do it? I just kind of did it. And it became such a natural habit now. Now, when I don't do it, I'm aggy. I get stressed. I'm tense. I'm anxious. I've actually been looking at the F45 studio up in Yorkshire. See if I can fit one in when I'm up there for the meeting this week. But it's just, I'm just so grateful that I found it. It's had such a massive positive impact on my life. And I just,
do you know what's really interesting there, though, Andy, is that I only recently sort of read up on this sort of stuff. That addiction is a personality trait. And so take the gym out and replace that with alcohol.
Or smoking.
You would have, do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or smoking or gambling or whatever. You can stack these things up. And actually, it's not that you are an addict. It's that you have an addictive personality. And if you do something you enjoy, you're going to do more of it. Mm-hmm. And so you've fortunately gone down the fitness route and are addicted to the enjoyment that you get and the fulfillment you get from doing it. But how much of a tightrope, or how worrying is it that actually, if on those lunch breaks you'd have gone down to the pub and snuck a pint in instead, rather than going for the run, where your life could have gone in? Do you know what I mean? That's mad to think about sometimes. I always think actually, we beat ourselves up a lot about some of the bad decisions that we've made in life, but actually we don't reward ourselves or even pat ourselves on the back for how easily it could have gone wrong. Do you know what I mean?
I do tend to reward myself quite a bit though, but that's usually again by myself more trainers. But I'm also at that age though where I'm 45 now, and I do genuinely believe that like every day that I don't train and I don't do that physical thing, that I'm getting that little bit worse. Like I'm keeping the walls from the door of, you know, fatigue and weight gain and all that kind of stuff, and keeping my joints supple and things. Like, I do think that one thing a day like does keep me quite agile and a bit younger than some other 45-year-olds that are out there, you know. So
yeah, I mean, well, look, there's tons of science to back up everything you've just said there, right? The feeling good and you feeling aggy when you're not doing it and all of that stuff. We know that the science backs up everything about physical activity, and it doesn't have to be, by the way, going and doing an F45 class or CrossFit or anything like that, right? It could just be going for a walk in nature, or, you know, doing some basic movement, stretching, whatever form it takes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was going to say, for me, it's just walking outside. Yeah. It's being able to do things like go, you know, I play a bit more golf these days than I probably did before. And for me, yeah, obviously it allows me to, you know, I guess it allows me to solve 100 and many others, especially the way I'm hitting them at the moment. It's every shot is a problem to solve. And it's fun to engage my mind with stuff like that. You know, yes, I also do think that the golf ball is my old tumor, and it allows me to whack the shit out of it for 100 and odd times. But it's you're right. It's just those endorphin releases, and what do you do? Again, it comes back to that question: how are you getting joy? And if that's the thing that you're getting joy from, wicked.
Yeah, Bobby, can I ask you? Are you playing golf on your own or with others?
I have done both. So I either play with a group of friends, and you know, certainly I've got one particular friend, and we certainly go whenever we can. I've also, you know, started to play with random people in our recruitment community, and I think that's great to do. I randomly went on a hike with 10 or so talent acquisition people. And that was so much fun. We ended up in the Peak District, you know, people that I didn't know, but it just got to know, like, and appreciate each other whilst having to sort out a pretty difficult hike. And stuff like that is great. And I think, you know, there's so many different ways in which, you know, certainly we can do business in very different ways. I know Andy's got, is it Sue that does the net walks?
Julia Doherty.
Julia, yeah. So there's lots of weird and wonderful ways to combine doing the work that you need to do with doing something that you enjoy. I know, to be honest, I think that's probably part and parcel of the Curry Club for us, is that, you know, essentially you know, sure, you're having, you know, if you looked at it from a KPI perspective, you're having 10 meetings with lots of people in your industry, but also you're just getting to know and like people and getting to do those things that are in the zeitgeist of actually we need to connect again, and I think that's what we're starting to see a lot more of. That there's more of these events happening because people need to connect, because it's a lonely place if you don't.
Yeah, I asked you that question about playing on your own because Andy, you mentioned it when you talked about going to the F45. That there's a bunch of you that do it together, right? It's a group activity. And there's a good friend of mine, Dr. Nilesh Satguru, who I'm going to have on That's Talk Bro very, very soon, and he coined this phrase, connection is the key to fulfillment. And if you think about it, it really is, isn't it? Right. And I think we're all four of us here are we kind of connect as a natural part of what we do. You through probably more so than I do. Nitin, you have your podcast, you're always connecting with people. You're always sitting there face to face. And that's one thing I love about your podcast is just, it's face to face, it's in person, right? It's not the remote kind of like we're doing now. So you get true connection through that. Andy, you're through team, and you're having so many events, I can't even keep up.
No, neither can I, mate.
Yeah, your mileage must be mad, the amount of travel you do. And then you've got the F45. Bobby, obviously you've got the Curry Club, which, you know, that's a massive, you know, I've been to one of those events and I've seen the connection that you feel and you see in those events, and obviously the golfing. And for me, you know, that's one of the things I wish I knew sooner, how important connection is, because even though, you know, we all grew up and when we were working in recruitment, it was in person. There was no such thing as work from home, and that was just like a joke, you know. So even though we had connection at work, I don't think I really valued it that much. And I've made really good friends as a result of working in the industry, and I still keep in touch with some of those people today. But if I'd known the importance of actually talk to your mates, right? Get out there and connect with people, in whichever way, shape or form it is, whether it's a phone call, ideally in person. Because if you're sitting there, and especially now, I think this is a very common thing now. I feel it now. I work from home 99% of the time. Last week I had a studio day, which was amazing. And a couple of weeks ago, we had our live event in London. I was in London the whole week, which was amazing. But most of the time I'm sitting in this little office that I've kind of created for myself here. And I feel it. I feel, like I feel lonely. I'm not gonna lie. I feel lonely.
I can imagine that.
And I
agree.
want to get out. So I've recently joined a kind of co-working space where I can just go. And even if I don't know anyone, just having other people around you, right? Just hearing other people doing their thing, even if it's not what I'm doing, just makes such a big difference. Getting on the train in the morning. I don't want to do it every day, don't get me wrong. But that for me is so important, just being around other people, and especially if I've got my camera and I'm doing videography or recording a podcast or whatever it might be. So I think connection is something that we should all be looking for. And I don't, look, I've got my kids, I've got my wife, and yes, I can connect with them. But I mean, outside of your normal spaces, right? Outside of where you are most of the time. I think if you're this is the big positive for in-person working. I think there's a big argument going on right around, remote working versus in-person. I think there's something you just cannot recreate remotely that you can get in person. And I think that's such an important part of why people should spend time in the office.
Interesting perspective though, but I think the fact that you call it remote working and not working from home is one of the additional steps, right?
Okay.
Those who call it working from home, we've got to stop that phrase, right? Because working from home is isolating. Because working in isolation is isolating, right? You don't have to work from home. You can work from anywhere. Remote working allows you to work from anywhere. You want people interaction. It's not that you've then got to commute your 25 miles to the office and pay for parking or travel and all the rest of it. Go to your local Starbucks.
Yeah.
Go to your local library. Go to your local whatever and go and be where people are. This is why co-working spaces are doing so well. And there's so many of them opening up all the time, right? It's you're absolutely right. There's a difference between working in isolation and, working in an office. They're two very different things. And I think if there are people that are like, I'm getting fed up of working from home, I'm feeling lonely, I'm feeling isolated, well, there's a lot of other ways you can go and meet people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I funny enough, I'm kind of looking at my options around that, because I'm there looking at it going, do I spend, £200-300 a month on a co-working space? Or do I spend £150 a month for a gym with a business suite, and I can actually combine the two in one?
Yeah.
And
the gym.
Funnily enough, I think, well, that's it. I'm looking, that means I can get go to one of those fancy gyms, but I'm actually paying less than I am for a co-working space.
Yeah.
And in all honesty, who knows who I might meet there?
Well, what you'll meet is other entrepreneurs and other business owners who are also doing the same thing. That's
exactly.
That's how these things work, right?
I saw a post on LinkedIn. I can't remember who wrote this. I saw a post on LinkedIn, I think on Friday or Saturday. Yeah, I was on it at the weekend. And it was someone saying that I do that. I work from a gym space, and he had a sauna with someone. He got chatting to the guy, and he billed him $5,000 worth of consultancy. Wasn't a recruiter. I think it was someone that worked in our world, but made $5,000 out of his first gym membership chat in a sauna, because he was just a like-minded individual, got chatting about business, and that's an interesting take on it.
Definitely. Yeah, because I think we almost try and surround ourselves in the places where all the exact same people could be, but actually the exact same is very different people. So like you say, entrepreneurs come in all different shapes and sizes, and be interesting to just kind of get those knowledges, ideas. Like I say, I'm looking to crowdfund something at the moment, and I'm there going, well, I have no idea, but I'll ask a few people. And funny enough, that's led on to very different conversations.
Yeah.
And I think allowing yourself to realize that you don't know it all. And again, I wish I'd learned that sooner, to be honest, Sunjay, that if, admitting that I don't need to know it all opens up a whole sense of curiosity and not that judgment that we all kind of put on ourselves.
Yeah.
I think another great point on that as well, Bobby. Like, you say you're looking at paying £300 for a space for yourself. Like maybe maybe club together with a couple of other like-minded individuals and get
totally.
that. Like, I've seen this happen in team where someone's come to a regional meeting in the sort of Midlands East area, said I'm really lonely, and then someone's actually gone across the table. I've got 2 spare desks in my office. Come and work with me like 1 day a week or 2 days a week, and now they share space together. You know,
yeah, well, that's what I did through the Curry Club. Someone kindly said that we've got this space, but now he's letting that office space go. So I'm looking at another option now. And yeah, you're right. I think just being able to just forget that we're, just because we're lonely doesn't mean we have to be alone.
This goes back to that conversation at the start that around you're not competing. It's not a race.
No.
You're on a motorway. And do you know what? Like, all of us are getting off at different directions and different junctions and whatever. And that's okay. And that's good. So along the way, why can't we buddy up? Why can't we do things together that make sense, But hey, I think we've got a long way to go before people stop that competitive nature and that competitive streak, I think.
We've seen the full spectrum of it at Curry Clubs, though, haven't we? We've seen people that are willing to be totally collaborative and open themselves up. There's other people that are going, no, why can't it stay the same way? And sometimes it's like I say, it's okay to be both of those people. If you have that behavior trait where you want to be, you want to be that kind of what we would determine as that old school mentality, that's cool as well, because I'm sure there's people that want to do 5 days in an office and have those cultures and that kind of thing. It's just a case of finding your tribe and working out what that tribe is and what the dynamics of that tribe are, and what is the baggage allowance. How much baggage are you allowed to bring in versus others, and and it's I think all those things are really important when you're finding what it is you're trying to stop being lonely from, or what you're trying to make yourself better with.
I think I don't want this to be about business, but I think the recruitment industry, in from my time in it anyway, I know it's very different now, is one of those cultures that it is very competitive just by nature. And I don't just mean internally. I mean, I was in lots of companies, mid-size, I would call them. There was extreme amounts of competition, and that was created by the management, no doubt, right? Because they want to make as much money as possible, top biller and league tables and all of this stuff. But also with your competition outside of the industry. Now, there was no such thing when I never knew about it anyway, if there was, of networking with your competition, right? With another recruitment business or another recruiter who's in your space. That just was like, that was a sin, right? Whereas now I've come back into it after over a decade and a bit out of it, and I see, the Mark Whitby's recruitment coach events where people are coming together, your Curry Club events, team, you've got this amazing community of people that I'm sure, and I'll be interested to know, Andy, you must have people that work in the same space as part of team. How does that?
One of my favorite contacts I made actually was at our conference. So this lady was like a friend of one of our members up north, like northeast type way, and she came to our conference. She was an HR recruiter, and she was like, "This ain't going to work for me. I don't think I'm going to get on with other HR recruiters." And I introduced her to another member that's from the South Coast at the bar. And they ended up spending the whole night drinking together, chatting war stories. Turns out that like one of them had clients in the north that she didn't have the candidate pool for, and vice versa. And now they're like best mates that are in the exact same space, but they're in completely two different parts of the country. So it happens a lot.
This is that thing though, isn't it, about the unpicking of behavior? My biggest learn the last 3 years has been that things don't stay the same, and things will never just stay the same. And whatever you measure your metric of success by, right, your ability and likelihood of succeeding or failing in whatever you're doing comes entirely down to your ability to adapt and grow and evolve and change with the times.
Agreed.
And so many businesses, so many people that I speak to are struggling at the minute because they refusal to accept the fact that the world is moving this way, and they either don't want to or don't know how to move that way with it, right?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think some people don't want to, and some people just don't know how. I know I found myself looking at different things that I want to do, and it's like, I don't know how to do this. And back in the day, I'd probably have just gone into my shell, got analysis paralysis, and then sacked it off for 3 months. Whereas now it's just a case of going, well, I think one of the key things is, who can I find in our world? And LinkedIn should be the place for this. And I don't know why it isn't as much as it should be. But, I need understanding investors, who's out there that can help. And that's why we're creating these weird and wonderful silos with, like Team, the Curry Club, TRN, the Pirates. There's all these little factions that kind of grow out of it. And because it just feels like people want to have these safe spaces to ask for help and to feel vulnerable. And I think, some people really struggle with that, and some people just don't know how to come forward with that vulnerability. And I think that's something that we're, hopefully, conversations like this and actions that people take might help a couple of people towards being able to be that vulnerable again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I think this is right. He said earlier, there's still a big shift that needs to happen for people to feel comfortable in that way. I don't think the social media space, I mean, LinkedIn is kind of the main one that I know all of us are very present on. And Nitin, you got your huge. Oh, by the way, Nitin, congratulations on YouTube, 100K. By the way,
Thank you, mate.
That's
you.
amazing.
Is that the plaque
amazing.
behind you?
No,
Have you got it?
that's the 50K one.
Oh, okay.
Just
the
the
50K one. It's been approved. It's on its way. I got to check the tracking on it. Actually, I think it'll be this week.
Amazing. And I'm looking forward to never hearing the end of this.
You need to put it on the wrestling belt that the boys from Gig got
Yes,
you.
that's what I was about to say. Yeah, put it on a belt like a boxing belt or something.
Yeah.
Wear it around your shoulder. I don't know. I maybe could be a skeptic. I feel like LinkedIn and space and social media is just getting more and more competitive, and there's more and more noise on it, and it's really hard to kind of tune yourself out. I did something on Instagram where a while ago, and I just came off it completely because it was just too much going on, and I just actually had to have a break from it. And I actually found that, believe it or not, LinkedIn was just a more nicer space to be in, and I was getting more engagement and genuine kind of people that were interested in hearing what I had to say, and I was more interested in it, and you could just build more meaningful connections as a result of it. I mean, look, we're all here because of it, so that just goes to show that, and I've met each one of you in real life as well.
I think it comes down to, though, like the beauty of things like LinkedIn is you create your own network, right? So if you're going to sit there and say, "Oh, LinkedIn's so toxic," it's because you're connected to toxic people, and all you're doing is engaging with toxic content. Right, you're in complete control of the people that you allow into your network, or don't allow into your network, for that matter.
Fair point.
Things like things like Instagram, like Meta itself, and TikTok, like pulling the veil back a little bit. I made an intentional decision not to push the podcast stuff on those platforms, because for me, I use those platforms as a break from LinkedIn. LinkedIn's work, and I go on TikTok to watch weird shit. Right? I don't want to watch work stuff on TikTok. It's my
I can verify that Nitin watches weird shit.
Absolutely.
Hey, if that's what brings him that's his one thing that he does to bring him joy.
One bit,
totally,
one thing that makes you happy, mate, and I've been doing that, right?
That's fine.
But the point is that, like, and I think that's where a lot of people get kind of caught up in this social media game, is trying to win across all platforms. You've got to pick out where your audience is. You've got to pick out where you want the engagement, and just focus there. I've done that on YouTube.
How did you come across that? Because I know that there's people like me, people like lots of others that will think about doing things on TikTok, because, to be fair, that's where I certainly think that's where, obviously, 18 to 21-year-old potential recruiters are likely to be, and therefore want to get their learning from. And so how did you decipher that kind of that mental barrier to going, I'm not going to be here, but I am going to be here?
Everything I do is based on what would I do, or what would I engage with? Would I like this? Would I care about this? And so for me, it was, I use Facebook to buy car parts, basically, and have a look at Marketplace and see what's going on, right? And keep in touch with old school friends. I use Instagram to take pictures of my kids to share to my family who don't get to see them that often, and my close friends. I use TikTok as brain rot. I'm going to give myself half an hour of just shit scrolling on TikTok, and I want to see all the weird and wonderful shit that's out there. At no point in those 3 channels am I going, but also, I'd like to know what Gary Goldsmith thinks about the current state of the recruitment. And no, I don't give a shit. That is not where I want to see that stuff. I go to LinkedIn for my work stuff, and that's it. So in my head, it was like, if that's me, then that's got to be other people, which is exactly the reason we built Rec Tools. I'm a business owner. I wish there was one place I could go to, and I think that kind of ability to back your own gut feeling. I would like this, and therefore I'm going to do it this way. It becomes a lot easier to succeed at it because you're organically doing it. I don't want to stand in front of a camera on TikTok and do a dance while being like, here's the 5 interview techniques that I recommend. Like, I don't want to do that shit.
You already did it, mate, with the drums at the curry club the other day.
Yeah, that was having fun. But like, do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, the kind of the message within that for me is to go, do what you're naturally good at, do what you enjoy, and actually the work stuff will look after itself. But if you're trying to compete in a space where you either have no interest or no understanding, it's never going to work for you. And then that's going to feed the negativity, which then feeds the depression, which then feeds the anxiety. Depression is worrying about kind of things that have happened. Anxiety is worrying about what's going to happen in the future. Sure. Live here. You're here right now. So do the things there, and you should be all right.
I think there's an interesting take on social media, though, and our world that we live in. Like, I've got 3 separate Instagram accounts, and actually I got 4 because I got the access to the team one as well. But I got one like Nitin, which is I've got 100 followers, which is just my family and my friends from school, which is, again, like family stuff. I've got one which is Andy from team, which is stuff that I do. And most of the stuff I don't put on LinkedIn, because I think there is a different audience that lives on Instagram for the recruitment world, but not as obviously as prolific as LinkedIn. And then I got one for F45. So every time I train, I put a post on about the training. So I've got different communities and different reasons to use that platform. I find like a lot of the stuff that, Nitin, you've been talking about this a lot recently, though, and about next year being like the great switch off. People just getting completely like
it's happening.
It's too much. It's getting too much for people.
Sunjay, you kicked off this podcast episode by going, I went to a retreat where it was just switch off from everything, right? People are doing it. This is a common trend. And if you're in that kind of business space, networking space, event space, maybe start looking into, hey, maybe we do a retreat. I wonder if we could get more out of doing a retreat than an awards night or an expo.
Yeah.
I wonder if we can do, because you've got to look at this is again my kind of takeaway from all of this stuff is you got to look at trends, which direction are things heading, and not just dig your heels in and be like, no, I don't want this to change. I like it on webinars. I don't want to get out of my office. Well, fucking hell, the world's going to move forward and you'll be the one left behind. And then sadly, you'll be the one looking for answers that just aren't there. You're absolutely right, Andy. There's a big switch off is coming. It's starting at the lower generations, the Gen X, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas. And it's starting to trickle its way through. Gen X and millennials are now spending less time on devices and stuff, and we want to go back into face-to-face events. Team have got the highest number of attendees that they have ever had throughout their history of running these regional events, and the most number of events. We haven't even got to November yet, and me, Bobby, and the rest of the Curry Cartel have put on over 45 live events of curry clubs.
It's honestly bananas thinking about it.
Yeah, with a grand total of 0 marketing budget. When it hasn't cost us a huge amount of money to put this thing together. Like there is a trend happening. Got to see it. You got to act on it.
I'm interested to know
from myself years ago.
From the curry club is a good example, because Bobby, last time we got together and did this episode, you said that was one of the mental health and getting people just out of their routines was one of the key reasons that you kind of created that. What's been the feedback from having now put on so many events from people as to what they've gained from it and why they continue to come?
Oh God, to be honest, we haven't done as much as maybe we should at getting a lot of that data.
Okay,
but most of it, certainly anecdotally, people just love the idea of sharing time with others. That's what we've really kind of garnered from this. Look, it's also led to people doing partnerships together, people doing business together, but they don't necessarily have to feel like they, no one has to be I think it, Nitin 100% talks about this, and I kind of allude to this as well. But what we're doing is building a set of people that know, like, and trust each other. And it's really lovely to see, all these friendships forming in the world of recruitment that probably wouldn't have happened, like you say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just lovely to see that people, we've had a guy called Marcus who lives out in York, but he sometimes comes to the London ones because he loves the idea of not feeling lonely. And if we're doing a little bit to eradicate feeling lonely, then that's amazing. That's all we can really be doing. Sure, everything else that comes off the back of it, I'm happy to say that, kind of lots of people's profiles are being raised, and hopefully that this rising tide will lift all ships. And it's just being able to give people an environment to showcase what they can do, because unfortunately there are environments in our industry that don't allow, I think Nitin, you even put a post about this today, right? Make your own stage. If people aren't allowing you to be on their stage, make your own stage and allow yourself to work out where it is that you fit in our weird and wonderful ecosystem.
We live in a fascinating environment and in a fascinating world right now where you can make your own stage and people will buy it. And if you build it, they will come, right? But for some reason, we have this kind of anxiety about doing it. But this again comes down to look at the trends, look at where the market's moving, and then do that. Like, I always think, is it not better to? I had a conversation with a business owner a few weeks back, and it was like, I haven't billed a penny for 6 weeks, and I've been grafting. I've been making call after call after call. I've been doing this, doing that, doing all the right things, and it's just nothing. And then we spoke about, well, why don't we try this and why don't we try that and that kind of thing. And then fundamentally, it was all about, why don't you just do some more fun, interesting, cool stuff rather than the grindy, horrible, boring stuff. And he was like, yeah, but like, what if I don't make any money? And I was like, but you've been doing the boring, horrible, crappy, grindy stuff for 6 weeks and haven't made any money. Would it not be nicer and more enjoyable to do fun shit for 6 weeks and not make any money? Which one would you rather do, right? Like, I don't understand this mentality of like, we have to burn ourselves out and grind ourselves down.
Because we have to be seen to be doing the things that other people measure a level of success by. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'll happily say it's a bad thing. But, we always try and judge ourselves with what was perceived to be the right things to do. How many times has someone gone, people must have looked at you and gone, oh, he's just having fun. But what they don't realize is the level of networking that you're doing, the ability to build a new business and essentially spend lots of time with your ICP. But how many other people are recognizing that and going, oh, hang on a minute, how do I create that? And then they go, oh no, it's just Nitin having a laugh. But it's allowed. But what you've been able to do is actually allow that to work for you. And I think a lot of people haven't yet mastered that, or certainly discovered it.
I think it's because you encapsulated it in the statement there when you use the word was, right? What doing the thing that what was the thing
exactly. It's that's all people think. Even though times have changed, but we still seem to think
the world moves forward and things go in this direction.
Absolutely,
and we do what worked back then.
There's a reason that email worked back in 1998 and isn't working now, because it's just got to be that way forward. So we've just got to look and see what can we do, given the pestle factors in front of us, to create the opportunity for ourselves, or certainly be able to create an opportunity to be happy, but doing the things that can make us money, but also have that ikigai element of it.
Love it, gents. This was amazing. I'm gonna wrap this up, and I think the key takeaway for me has been the connection piece, getting out there, meeting with others. I think that's such an important part, especially now in the winters months are coming in. I think it's easy to kind of stay indoors and kind of just go inwards. So
Sunjay,
for me, connection is the key. Go
before
on, Andy.
you wrap, mate, if you ever want to come to anything we're ever doing in team, you are welcome to any event. Never feel lonely. If you ever come to Surrey, come and work in our office space as well, mate. But
thank you, bro. Thank you very much.
I would say come to a Coke Club, but I know you're coming on Thursday, so
yes. So it's the closest one you've ever held to me. So it'd be criminal. It'd be criminal not to come to that one. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. And Andy, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate it, and I probably will take you up on that at some point. So this has been amazing. Thank you, gents.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Everyone out there, thanks for tuning in.